run for the trail 7K over on Ghost Town Trail starting at Dilltown. I finished 5th overall, first in my age. A little under 29 minutes. My watch had 28:55. I don't know what the official time was, so somewhere in that range. It was definitely 3+ minutes slower than last year. I know a lot of the factors that played into that was, well, the first one was shoes. I was wearing actual like trail shoes, not road shoes. I didn't have any road shoes on me. I was coming back from eastern states that I was supposed to run, so I didn't really like plan to run a road race. So I didn't really have like my road gear and stuff. So I was stuck with trail shoes to run the event, which really calls for road shoes. Plus I only got like an hour's sleep the night before, so I was a little bit tired, and I just drove 2.5 hours to get there on that 1 hour of sleep from eastern states. So I wasn't like really prepared, and then mentally I was like, I'm just gonna show up, you know, like run 7.5, 8-minute pace, just to try to like get the gold spike from my age group. I wasn't really trying to bust my ass to get a top 3 this year, because I really didn't feel like racing or even running. I just figured nothing else to do, I'll just pop in and go to the start line, see what happens. There's always a bunch of high school kids there, like cross country kids. It's like one of their last tune-ups for the season. This year was no exception. It wasn't too hot this year compared to other years. There was a little bit of rain in the forecast. Did sprinkle just a tad before the start, and then like after I finished, I know it started raining harder and harder as the storm actually came in. Dumped a bunch of lightning too when they were doing awards. But I even stayed in the back. Probably 40-ish people from the front for the start of the race, for like the road section. I was like, just stay back here if you're not gonna race hard, and then just after it thins out, just, you know, do whatever. But you know that how that happened. As soon as they started the race, they jogged a little bit, but then like I guess instincts is maybe what you want to call it, kicked in. So I started speeding up a lot faster than I wanted to. I'm not sure what my overall pace was. I don't know if I could toggle through real quick, but I mean it wasn't a blistering pace. I think my overall was, it says 6:35. That seems about right. I mean, that's not top end speed. Again, it was over 3 minutes slower than last year. So I guess it was a little bit better that I wasn't like redlining, but when the instincts took over and I took off, I was just like, ah, shit. I was like, I didn't want to do this, but whatever. So then I quickly got around everybody. I just hate being in a jam as well. I think maybe that's what happened. Like, I hate being clustified during a race. But quickly moved into like 5th, or maybe 6th right away. Then a couple of tenths later, I moved into 5th. But either way, I was running a lot harder and faster than I wanted to. And I could just feel my legs just getting beat up with those trail shoes. Not just because it was trail shoes on actual like asphalt, but the heaviness of the trail shoes is probably 4 ounces, maybe 5, heavier than my road shoes. So pounding pavement with that 5 extra on each shoe was definitely beating my legs up running hard. Because I wasn't even wearing my good trail shoes. I was wearing like my training trail shoes, which are heavier than my actual trail shoes. So I knew I was going to be hurting a little bit, like even trying to like not push hard, but the pace I was going at, I know I was working way harder than I should have been. I actually wore a shirt even though it was hot out, and I was actually wearing shorts over compression shorts, which this time of year I'm never gonna do. So obviously I wasn't like mentally trying to like bust my ass and do anything spectacular, but nothing too exciting happened in the first half of the race. Again, it's like 2 miles on asphalt road before we circle back to finish out like a U onto the Ghost Town Trail for like the last 2 miles. Pretty much stayed with 2 younger kids, and I could see top 3 ahead. Once in a while I could see the top 3 a little bit, like position wise, like gap out each other, and you know, then condense back up depending on the terrain, you know, flat or downhill. Like they weren't necessarily mixing up positions, but you could see the gap between the 3 of them open and close the whole time. But I could hear the 2 kids behind me. Well, yeah, I guess I would have been 4th for 1.5 miles, 2 miles into the race before I got passed back up by one kid, putting me in the 5th. But I think he passed me back up once we actually hit Ghost Town Trail for 5th. But I had no want to actually pass him back up because I wasn't going to catch top 3. So 4th didn't really matter compared to 5th or 6th, because I was more going for the age group gold spike that they give out every year for age groups than the top 3 that I wasn't going to be able to get. But nothing else too exciting. Because I mean, well, there was a few cars early on in the race, but then they thinned out and there wasn't really any that second mile of the road portion. But I definitely got breathing really heavy, and I would say a little bit over a mile in, I had to pull my shirt over my head that I was wearing because I was just getting too hot and I could feel it getting overheated. So I did have to do that. And then other than that, once we hit the trail, I did try to cut some tangents out on the road, but that really didn't happen too much. They still weren't the best lines. And then once we hit Ghost Town Trail, I actually stayed more on the left side of the trail than the right, just running. I was looking back a bunch to see if anybody was coming up on me in my age. Just trying to run conservatively between that, I guess, tempo pace, because my legs were hurting, even though I didn't want to put forth that tempo effort. But just finished it out, and it was getting way too hot and overheated. And like I said, position wise, once we hit Ghost Town, it was pretty much decided who was going to be top 5 or 6 into the race. Everybody pretty much spaced themselves out in the, I guess, proper seating, if that's what you want to say it. And I don't know, I guess that's about it. I'm just glad I got done before it really started to rain. Not that it rained hard, but it was a little bit heavier than a sprinkle. Probably like 5 minutes after I finished. I did set up my GoPro for the finish line. I didn't get everybody coming in because it started to rain a little bit too hard after a while. So I shut it down and put it away because I didn't think my gimbal is that waterproof. So I didn't want to take a chance. I didn't even check it out yet to see if it screwed up, but I think I got most people. They did have one of the pirate pierogies there. I did see them briefly after I finished. I forget which one it was. It was the one with a P on the hat, the blue pea. Is it Penelope, maybe? Anyway, I don't know how long they stuck around, but I know once I went to the pavilion, you know, when they started doing awards, it was already going, so I don't know how long it actually stayed. It was nice to see that there briefly, at least. Got my dilly bar, because that's what they do for the race. For like ice cream, they give out like dilly bars and stuff. It's like a post-race refreshment every year. It's traditional. Then again, you get the gold, silver, and bronze railroad spikes for age group awards, and then top 3, male and female, each get like a wooden carved out like train award looking thing. I would say it was a pretty decent crowd. I would say over 100 people, and also like a decent mix of young and old. Even though like coming in, you know, there's going to be a bunch of high school kids, but there was actually a pretty good amount of adults as well this year. So I'd say everybody was pretty much well represented. There was a little baby deer that must have got hit like 2 days before along the trail. Smelled it briefly on the way out, and it made me spit a couple times just because I got the smell in my lungs and nose. But then on the way back, that was one thing I forgot to mention. I would say maybe like 7/10 left into the race. When we passed it back on the trail, because the way the course loops are used or whatever, like the road's only maybe 50 yards or if that from like the actual trail. So we got to smell it on the trail once we were like really hot and overheated, but I think the wind blew the stench down onto the trail more than it did to the road, because man, it was horrible when we ran past it on the trail part. Everybody was saying about they could smell it and whatnot. So yeah, that sort of sucked. Made me gag a little bit on the trail portion. Yeah, I guess not bad in retrospect for going to a race that it was just basically a drop-in last-minute decision. Could have did better, could have did worse. I really had no aspirations. It was more just go, show up, and at least video something. That was actually probably the bigger reason why I went. I just wanted to get some video action done this weekend. Yeah, I'd definitely say that was probably like my main goal, is even showing up. So, is what it is. Hopefully find something interesting next weekend to do that excites me. Alright.